Well, I got my master's in public health at Yale University, but learned nothing about nutrition. It wasn't on the curriculum there. And then I went to law school, certainly didn't learn anything about nutrition there. And then after graduating, I discovered a vegetarian diet. I just decided to switch to that way of eating for personal reasons. And then that just opened up this whole world to me of books by John Robbins and Dean Ornish and all these people I, didn't know about, and then reading about how diet not even only affects our health, but the environment and the horrors of animal factory farming, and just realizing there were just all these reasons to be shifting towards a plant-based diet. And so then I realized, well, I have this law degree and a public health background, seems like a good way to, connect my work up with what I had just found as a personal passion. So this was back in the late 90s, and there weren't really many, if any, lawyers kind of taking a closer look at how our food system works and the politics of food. But I discovered Marion Nestle's work, and this was before she published her book called Food Politics, and she was writing academic articles actually about the meat and dairy industries and how they would influence the federal dietary guidelines and other food federal policies. And so that got me excited, and I thought, oh wow, I want to take a look at this. And so I started writing about the influence of the meat and dairy industries on our school food programs and the dietary guidelines. And that's when I realized, wow, this is really a political issue, not just a health issue, but there are real deep politics to why we don't know the truth about how to eat right and how our food choices are so distorted in the marketplace. Why is it that a cheeseburger costs more than a salad? Well, it's because of government policies that really influence that. And so then I just kind of kept following that path. I did a variety of things, volunteered for some local vegetarian groups, and started my own nonprofit, and over time just developed an expertise in really shining a light on the politics of food, on the fast food companies, the junk food companies, the soda companies. It's really all the same, whether we're talking about, meat and dairy, McDonald's, or Coca-Cola. I mean, what we have is a corrupt food system, and we have major players in the food industry that are making sure that Americans keep eating all the wrong foods and don't get access to the right information. I think the solution is really a combination of factors. I mean, obviously we need to educate people about proper diet and really the politics of food. I mean, what I feel about education is not enough to just get someone to change their own personal diet, but we have to actually move people to get engaged in the political system to make sure that everyone has access to truly healthy eating, and that really is going to take a big political movement. And the thing is, it's happening. I mean, there certainly is a big consumer shift going on. At least red meat consumption has gone down significantly. There's even evidence now that people are turning away from processed foods. The big food companies are losing market share. People are realizing maybe it's not such a good idea to be eating food that comes in a box all the time, to be eating really, truly fresh food. So I feel like there is a big consumer awakening going on already, but it's not accessible to everyone, and that's really where policy change comes in. So we need to push for better policies to make healthier food more affordable, more available, to work with local community groups, school food efforts. There's all kinds of ways these days to get involved to improve the food environment where you live, or change food policy for the better at the national level. And so, I just always encourage people to just start where you are. If there's a project in your backyard community that you get excited about, then go check it out. Volunteer some time, donate some money, sign up on a mailing list, take actions. There's all kinds of ways to get involved these days, and there's just an explosion of activity in the food movement. There are groups that do this, so people ask me, well, how can one person change it? Well, there are collections of groups of people who are trying to change things. And so what I say is, depending on what issue interests you, if it's, promoting more plant-based foods, and sign up with groups like Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, or, there's so many groups that are working to get healthier food into school meal programs, for example. Or, if you care about animal welfare, support the Humane Society or Mercy for Animals, or, you name an issue. I can name 3 organizations that are working on that issue, probably at the federal level, some at the state level, some even at the international level. So, like I said, there's no excuse. We're not alone. There's lots of things going on. You just have to plug in. I mean, there's policy efforts going on every single day. So if you want to see GMOs labeled, there's 4 groups working on that. You know, if you want to get improvements in school food, there's another 5 groups working on that. I mean, you know, there's a whole world out there of activism going on, and these days on social media, they're very easy to become more aware of, to support, to spread the word about. I mean, you know, I think social media has been an incredible, you know, positive development for activism, and we're seeing, you know, all kinds of ways that word is spreading like wildfire. You know, when something comes up, if it's in Congress or a state legislature, and a group has, you know, 500,000 followers on Facebook, then they say, here, call your state legislatures. They do it, you know. So there's a lot of activity going on right now, some of it, you know, being propelled by social media. And, you know, I just say that you need to find the issues that you care about, find the groups that are working on those issues, and then plug in. And like I said, it can be local, can be regional, can be local, can be regional, can be federal, and there are also groups that are working to change things at the international level. Are working for better, you know, food policy in other countries. I mean, so there's just so much going on, and I don't think it's hopeless. I feel like we are making some inroads. I mean, there's all kinds of corporate campaigning going on. So changing laws is only one strategy, but doing direct corporate campaigns, putting public pressure on, say, you know, like Chick-fil-A, which said they would stop using antibiotics or sourcing their chicken from facilities that use antibiotics, that kind of thing. And we're seeing more and more. McDonald's also made a similar announcement recently. So all of this public pressure that's going on against these companies is really having a positive impact. And so it's about getting engaged in those activities.